What's up, everyone? Good morning. Welcome back to Shaw Local's Bears Insider Podcast. I am Kyle Nabors, along with Sean Hammond. It is Monday morning, October 23rd. And Sean, it's been more than a year, but we are talking about a Bears win here on a Monday.
Yeah, a Bears win at Soldier Field, first since September 25th of last year. That
That's
is a
wild.
long time. That is almost 13 months.
And all it took was a completely inept Las Vegas Raiders team to do it. Listen, I'm not taking away anything from the Bears. They executed what they needed to do yesterday. The thing at the end of the day that really I felt like was the takeaway for me though, Sean, was like I don't know how the Raiders have won 3 football games.
Yeah, with Jimmy G out, it was not good yesterday, and the offense couldn't move the ball. I thought the best possession that the Raiders had was the very first one where they were force feeding Devontae Adams, and then
Right.
after that, they didn't do anything.
No, they absolutely didn't. And let's get this out of the way before we dive into the Bears, because just to give it a little context, right? Like when it was announced, I think it was Friday, the news broke, maybe Saturday, that Brian Hoyer was going to start the game for the Raiders instead of Aiden O'Connell. Like I understand, like Aiden O'Connell had some action. I think he started the game earlier the
He
year. I know
started
he
the game
played.
earlier in the season.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and then, like he struggled. I get it, but like if you're the Raiders, why are you playing a 38-year-old Brian Hoyer at this point? Everything just screamed of Josh McDaniels yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think that decision makes a whole lot of sense. Wouldn't you rather have your rookie quarterback who you drafted with a fourth round pick, which isn't high, but it's not like an undrafted guy like Tyson Bagent. Like throw him
Wow.
out there, especially Aiden O'Connell's. I mean, this isn't the most important thing, but he's from Chicago. That would have been a great opportunity for him to come out and start in front of his home city. But yeah, I guess for whatever reason they wanted to go with Brian Hoyer. I mean, they did enter this game 3-3, so like
Brian Hoyer didn't look like he had any real desire to be out there taking hits at 38 years old
I
either.
I think realistically they thought that would give them a better chance to win because they're still conceivably in the playoff hunt, even though they haven't looked good all year. But yeah, if that's a better chance to win, I don't know what's going on over there.
Everyone joining us live this morning, we really do appreciate it. You can join us live on YouTube. Throw your questions into the chat. We'll get to them and comments as well. Leave us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. You can follow myself on Twitter at Kyle Neighbors. You can find Sean on Twitter at Sean_Hammond. You can also find Sean on Instagram as well. Go to Bears_Insider to find all of our content. And of course, go to shawlocal.com. Sean's content from yesterday is up. And plenty more from Hallis Hall, Michael Gojak over there. Jake Bartleson is producing for us behind the scenes. I'm sure you'll see Jake on the broadcast at some point this morning. Sean, now that we got a little context for whatever the hell it was that the Las Vegas Raiders were doing yesterday, overall, it certainly wasn't a flashy game plan from the Bears yesterday, but it was effective. They get 3 turnovers. Tyson Bagent only throws the ball downfield more than 4 times, passes 10 or more yards. They didn't really need to, though. Conservative game plan, but it didn't take long yesterday to feel like the Bears were going to win that game.
No, it didn't. And I like that they leaned on that run game, especially with Darnell Wright. There was some question whether Darnell Wright was going to play at right tackle, but with him in there, and despite all what we were saying last Friday about concerns about the O-line, like that was a really good performance from those guys. And, they might have something there with, which is funny because it's literally what they wanted to have last year with Cody Whitehair at left guard, Lucas Patrick at center, and Tevin Jenkins at right guard. I mean, those guys played really well, and they allowed the run game to sort of dictate the control of that game. And yeah, Tyson Bagent did not really need to do a whole lot. And when you have a backup quarterback, especially a rookie who's never started a game, I mean, that's exactly what you want to happen.
Now, the Bears, I mean, 2 things when it comes to the offensive line, right? All year long, it's been a much better run blocking unit. Really, it doesn't matter who's been on the field in that five for that five. It's been better at run blocking than pass blocking, which has been kind of frustrating to watch the Bears get away from the run so often. And two, you know, you go back to the Cody Whitehair struggle at snaps, and maybe just getting him back to a guard position where he wasn't having to be the quarterback of the offensive line, not thinking so much, not directing guys, sliding protections. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, maybe it does. I mean, he can just go out there and listen to the call and execute his play. And yeah, that's one more thing that he, in terms of the snaps, that's one more thing he doesn't have to worry about. Lucas Patrick, of course, has been at center most of this season, so it's at this point, you know, we're 7 weeks in. That's pretty familiar to him. I like the way that Tevin Jenkins, you know, no problem was able to switch from the left side to the right side back where he was last season. You know, obviously that's going to be there's going to have to be some shuffling when Nate Davis returns, but at this point, it's probably going to be a few weeks at least.
I'd say, yeah. Nate Davis, did they end up placing? They placed him on IR, right?
They did not place him on IR, but the reports from the NFL Network and ESPN, I think that I saw were saying it could be a high ankle sprain or something like that, which is like, you know, when you talk about ankle sprains, that's the worst of the two. That's the one that you're more concerned about. And so I don't know. Obviously, if they didn't put him on IR, they expect him to be back in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Now I'm concerned with who I'm thinking. So
yeah,
much
I don't know what you
on
do, but I guess at this point you can sort of kick that down the road a few weeks and not worry about it. But at some point, they're going to have to figure out which of those 4 guys are going to play those 3 spots.
Yeah. I got a little time. You know, if Nate Davis is out a couple more weeks, like it certainly looks like it's going to be, it gives you a bit more time to evaluate too. See where these things are more than excuse me, I'm trying not to sneeze. Allergies this morning, man.
It's tough.
It's that time of year. You know, you get a couple more weeks to evaluate that offensive line against someone that isn't the Raiders. So, you know, you're going to get a much tougher matchup here on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. But down to Foreman, man, it's someone I've been all the way back to March when they signed the kid. Rick Gonzalez checking in with us this morning said Foreman needs to start the rest of the year even when Herbert returns. I love Donta Foreman. All he's ever needed was a chance to, you know, get on the field and stay healthy. It's been a problem throughout his career. You saw it in Carolina last year, though, when he got the chance, he really performed. He just runs hard. And, you know, Sean, I believe, got a chance to talk with him late in the week. I know that you got a chance to talk with him yesterday, definitely. He's been itching for a chance to get back out on the field and show what he can do.
Yeah, look, he came here expecting to compete for that starting job with Khalil Herbert. And at that point, Roschon Johnson just wasn't in the mix. You know, obviously there's always a chance when you sign with a team that they could draft somebody at your position. But, you know, then they do that. And clearly they chose to prioritize getting Roschon some snaps. We saw Foreman in week 1. And then after that, he wasn't active. And the explanation, according to him, what he heard from his coaches was it's mostly special teams related. You know, he doesn't provide anything on special teams. And in my opinion, going forward, you got to find a way to get this guy active. Like,
right.
You have to, I don't think you can justify having Travis Homer active over him at this point. I know that, like, you know, when everybody's healthy, I'm talking about. I know that special teams is a really important aspect of the game, but Foreman had looked so good. I mean, he is such a tough runner.
Mike B said, friendly reminder, Foreman was benched for 4 games so they could have Travis Homer active. You know, that guy you could easily, that guy that easily dropped the ball the first time he got in yesterday. So the special teams part of this, right? The thing that's frustrating about that is you knew that, right? Like, going into the season, you signed Foreman, you drafted Roschon Johnson. You knew that since the spring that you had these 3 guys that you liked. You needed to find a way to get them on the field if you were going to have all three of these guys on the
Mm-hmm.
roster. So, like,
and look, they found a way in week one.
right.
At that point, they hadn't really figured out who was going to lead the backfield. I think all three of those guys kind of had equal touches in that game. But you found a way to get them all active. So I don't know if there was something special teams wise that they weren't happy with in that game, and they wanted to shuffle some things around. But
well, so Roshan Johnson, he contributed on special team at Texas, I believe.
yeah, and he is for the Bears. Yeah, he has
Yeah.
been.
So
Obviously, he's been out with the concussion the last
yeah,
2 games.
I'm yeah, and so he's been. I'm trying to go through it. Yeah. So like Travis Homer, when Roshan Johnson does get back and Khalil Herbert gets back as well, Travis Homer, like it's those three guys moving forward, right? No more of the silliness of Donta Foreman being inactive or one of those three guys being inactive, right?
I personally, I think it's got to be those three guys. At the same time, I mean, frankly, Travis Homer is here to play special teams. So then I don't know what exactly you're doing with him, but in my opinion, you got to have, that's it's either he's sitting on the bench or you're cutting him. In my opinion, the way Foreman has run the last few games, like you got to find a way to get that guy the ball, get him some touches, even when Herbert's playing. I'm not saying that he should start over Herbert. I don't know. Maybe you play him 50-50 for a while and see who's better. Just find a way to get them both touches.
I mean, between the fact that you got multiple productive running backs, that your offensive line is better running the ball or at run blocking than pass protecting, that you have a quarterback in Justin Fields that, you know, is a tremendous athlete. This seems like actually a good setup for this offense. Maybe it's not what you want, right? Long term, of course, we don't know how much longer Justin Fields is going to get out, and we're going to get into this Tyson Bagent talk here in just a minute. But you know, embrace the fact that you are a good running team, and that, frankly, while the defense has gotten better, you probably don't want to be playing shootouts anyway. So things should be setting up for you to be able to run the ball.
No, this game, I think in some ways could be kind of a blueprint. Obviously, when Justin's in there, you're going to have him pushing the ball downfield a little bit more than Tyson Bagent. But you know, if you can control a game against anybody with that run game like they did yesterday, that's going to give you opportunities to win football games. And you know, of course, it helps when the defense is creating turnovers. That was a really nice thing to see. But again, you know, I just, Kyle, you read my story. I wrote a big story about Jalen Johnson. Guys, check it out at shawlocal.com. Obviously, a really emotional day for him to finally get some takeaways.
Immediately going over to the TV camera after the pick six and making sure to do the little money sign there.
And I love that. You know, I love you're playing the team you're playing. You know, you can't control who's on the schedule, but at the same time, I'm a little concerned that half the Bears' takeaways have come against backup quarterbacks at this point, Kyle. Does that matter?
Yeah, it absolutely matters.
I mean, when Jalen Johnson sits at the negotiating table, no one's going to say that, but
well, I mean, so the game, I'm thinking, who was it? Oh, that was the Kansas City game.
City, yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's
got a couple picks.
That's one thing. Yesterday, that's out of the Bears' control, right? You know, like they can't help it that Brian Hoyer's back there playing for a terrible team. So that's one thing. I don't know if anyone's going to bring that up at the negotiating table. He made a nice play on that pick six, by the way. He jumped that route really well. So
absolutely.
More than anything, I think he needs to be paid at some point. The Bears have to start some meaningful extensions here. I mean, you got one with Cole Kmet before the season start. You know, Jalen Johnson, I think we mentioned on Friday, like he's talked about seeing the Roquan Smith trade and the Robert Smith trades last year and knowing that's sticking in the back of his mind. He's certainly someone that deserves to be paid, though, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think you watch the tape and you study like what he does, even when they're, you know, it's been so easy over the first couple of years of his career for teams to not throw anywhere near him. And, you know, some of those games against top receivers, I think back to that Eagles game last year where AJ Brown wound up finishing with like a really nice stat line. I don't remember what it was, 100-something yards and a couple touchdowns or whatever. But
yeah, I remember
you actually watch the tape and you see Jalen Johnson against him, and it's a lot more impressive than you would expect based on the stat line.
Shaw Local Bears Insider podcast is sponsored by Ken Nelson Auto Group, proudly serving the Sauk Valley area for over 55 years. Ken Nelson Auto Group offers 10 new vehicle franchises in one convenient location right here in Dixon, Illinois. Shop a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles at kennelsonauto.com. We're going to be with you for another 15 minutes or so. I got an insanely busy day, guys. Actually, I'll be back with you live at YouTube at 11 a.m. If you want to come over and talk some high school football, Steve Seuss and I will be on live for Friday Night Drive, breaking down the playoff field that was revealed on Saturday night. But for now, we got some Tyson Bagent talk we got to get into here. I have not turned on Chicago Sports Talk Radio this morning. I'm not sure I should for my own just mental health. Listen, Tyson Bagent, he did what the Bears asked him to yesterday. And honestly, he did better than I expected. And he looks confident in the role.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't think he did anything that makes me think like there should be a controversy between him and Justin Fields.
No, and I'm with you, Kyle, where I've been trying to kind of avoid the chatter. I certainly see it in my Twitter mentions, or I'm sure if I flipped on the radio, we would be hearing it this morning. But as somebody who's been, kind of following this team all year and like, knows a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes, like there's no quarterback controversy. Tyson Bagent had a great game yesterday. That was awesome. You love to see that. He took care of the football, which we were saying on Friday was the number one most important thing. If he's not turning it over, they'll have a shot to win that game. But I mean, just the Justin Fields gives you so much more with the athleticism and the arm talent and all the experience. There's no quarterback controversy here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said, Sean. Yeah, CJ Williams, absolutely. Bagent proved he can be competent, and that's great. How long? I mean, how many? It's been a long time since the Bears had what you felt to be someone that could come in off the bench and win you a football game at the quarterback position. If Tyson Bagent can be that guy, that would be absolutely fantastic for the Bears. Yesterday was a fantastic first step for him.
Yeah, it was. It was a great first step. And I think that's like it was a really fun story all week, and it was a really fun just to watch him do what he did on Sunday. And I mean, frankly, the fact that we're talking about this guy as the primary backup, I don't think any of us saw that coming 3 months ago. I mean, this is already a win for him. He doesn't have to be the starting quarterback right now for that to be a win. Like this guy has proven that he can be a really, really good backup quarterback in the NFL.
I see CJ Williams down here says Kyle Orton was the last QB, Jim Miller before that. I'll throw one in there. Brian Greasy was here at some point. I want to say during the Jay Cutler era. And Brian Greasy actually, I think was okay when he had to step into that role. You're usually either looking for your veteran, a Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer was here at one point too, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He started 5 games in 2016.
Oh boy, John Fox years. That's why I don't remember that all that well.
I only remember that because I was writing about it this week. I had to look that one up.
Man, those were some just awful teams to watch. Speaking of, I'm going to derail this for a second. I know, Sean, you were at.
Speaking of awful teams to watch.
Yeah, so you were in the locker room yesterday and didn't have to witness the absolute train wreck that was the Green Bay Denver game. You want to talk about just bad offenses, and again, like there were 2 quarterbacks in that game yesterday. In Russell Wilson, a former Super Bowl, former MVP. Super Bowl winner, and then Jordan Love, and it was just 2 quarterbacks trying not to lose the game for their teams. So just it was not a great day around the NFL, honestly.
I did have the or I was able to sort of peek at at the screen during that second half while I was writing my stories up in the press box. But
And then you were like, I'm gonna stop looking at that.
well, I flipped it up, or I didn't flip it on. I looked up for the first time and noticed it was on, and saw that the Packers were down 2 touchdowns against the Broncos, and I thought, what in the heck is going on over there?
Yeah. CJ Williams league figured out Jordan Love. There wasn't really anything to figure out. I don't think he's just not any good.
I mean, yeah, you think figure out after somebody gets off to a hot start, and I mean, I guess you could say he got off to a hot start for 3 weeks.
As Mike B texted me yesterday, and the Bears got absolutely wrecked by this Packers team in week 1. He's not wrong.
That's a fair point.
It's that's thinking of coaching staffs and getting wrecked by the Packers in week 1. What was that sequence by Matt Eberflus at the end of the first half yesterday? This is the second time this season now where I've been absolutely just flummoxed by whatever the hell it is he's doing with his clock and time, or the clock management and timeouts at the end of a half.
I think maybe he's trying to like turn his timeouts in, like give them back and get some money back or something. Like what? Yeah, I don't understand why you would just eat the 2 timeouts. That was really poorly done.
They ate the 2 timeouts when they were passing the ball too. Like they were passing the
ball, the football,
throwing the football, picking up some
trying to get into field goal range.
They pick up 14 yards at a time, then run 20 seconds off the clock, then pick up another 14 yards at a time, and then all of a sudden they get on the Raiders side of the field, then take a sack with 9 seconds left, back onto their side of the field, and then he calls a timeout, only to bring Nathan Peterman into the game. And this is the second time, which, like a Hail Mary is tremendously, like you're asking your offensive line to block something up for a long time. You're asking an offensive lineman to somehow get rolled up on and get injured. You're asking your quarterback to take a shot from a charging linebacker. You're asking your wide receivers to not get piled up on there in the end zone. It's a stupid play most of the time, unless it's the end of the game and you're just desperate. He's now done it twice. Like, what the hell?
I don't know, man. I don't even know. I wasn't watching the sideline close enough, but I'm questioning now. Like, did Nathan Peterman even have a chance to warm up his arm? You throw him out there for a 60-yard throw. The guy's been sitting on the bench the whole time. That is just weird. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're not confident in Bagent's arm, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Somebody was sending me clips of what he did at the combine. Like, the dude can throw the ball.
I love that he's like, listen, what do you say? I have a cannon, is what he said in the post-game press conference. I loved it. I was like,
I mean, there was no doubt in his mind that
but
he could have made it to the end zone. He wasn't questioning that at all. I don't know. That's a really weird move. It's a weird look to pull the guy who's been in the game the whole time for I guess Mr. Cannon, Nathan Peterman.
And they brought Peterman in to take knees at the end of the game. Did they really? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about either. That was weird. And, there was so many other things. We didn't get a chance to ask Flus about that, but I don't know what that was about.
When that was, I was going to go back. So like that sequence ends. I don't know if you saw it on the field or if you noticed it from up in the press box. On the broadcast, though, they flashed over to DJ Moore walking off at halftime, and he was looking back at like the Bears sideline, like, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah, that was a really weird sequence. And I mean, look, they should be trying to go get points in that situation. You got the ball back with I think it was just under 2 minutes.
Yeah, there was plenty of time on the clock.
Use those timeouts. Don't waste them, especially if you're picking up chunks like that and you're moving into enemy territory. I don't know why we're saving them.
You're so confident to keep Tyson Bagent on the roster to begin the year, right? You love this kid, blah, blah, blah. We're talking him up. That's a perfect spot. Let the kid go out. You're already up. You're like, and you were throwing the ball, so you weren't that concerned about him turning the ball over, right? So it's, let him go down and try and put a touchdown on the board, at least 3 points. I mean, just what are you doing? DJ confirmed on his morning radio hit on 670 today that he didn't understand what they were doing at the end of the half either. Of course he didn't know. Like I guarantee you there wasn't a player on the sideline that was like, this makes sense. I bet a lot of them probably have more sense than DJ Moore to admit it on the radio, but I'm absolutely glad DJ Moore did admit that on the radio. But there is no defending it. And Ryan Poles was on the sideline at the game yesterday. Like, he had to be. I mean, he's a former football player. He's an offensive lineman. I think a lot of us have spent time on sidelines at football games. Where you've like been next to someone at a game and been like, "What's happening right now?" Like I pictured Ryan Poles like talking to like whoever was with him yesterday. Like what
are we doing here?
what is he doing right now? Like looking like we have 3 timeouts, right? We do have 3 timeouts. I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah, and like the players aren't dumb, like DJ Moore. Yeah, I love that he said that too, because like, when a coach botches the timing, the clock management aspect of the game, everybody knows it. The players know it. They've played this game a million times. These players grew up playing Madden, in their free time. Like anybody who's played Madden knows how to manage a clock.
And it's one thing. Every coach, it's going to happen to even the best occasionally. It's happening to Matt Eberflus on a consistent basis. It's not good.
And it's happened several times this year in the first half. And I'm waiting for that. You hope that there's not a time when something like this goes wrong in the fourth quarter.
Well, so I'm thinking back to my rant. The last time this happened, and talking about not taking the 3 points, they had cost themselves at least 6 points. Was that the game? Was that the Washington game, or was that the Denver game? It all runs together. I
can't remember. I'm not sure.
Because it's not just it's gonna cost them a game at some point. Yeah, it was the Denver game. So Mike says it was the Denver game, so it did cost them a game. That's what. Yeah,
it's because they didn't get the 3 at the end of the first half. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
In that Denver
game, there was multiple times where his decision making, but at the end of that first half was insane. Whatever. Matt Eberflus. It is what it is at this point. The positive out of this game. I don't want to end this on a negative.
No, and we shouldn't. All things considered, that was a small thing.
The positive thing is, there were a lot of positives in that game from the on-field play from guys. Particularly at the end of the day, I felt much better about the offensive line. It was great to see Darnell Mooney get some catches in that game. Tremaine Edmonds with the interception. I will say a little more negative here. They need more of a pass rush still. That's a bad Las Vegas Raiders team.
Copy and paste. You can keep that one all. I think we're going to be saying that all year long, man.
Yeah. What else, John? What else? At the end of the day, what else are you feeling good about?
What else am I feeling good about from this game? I feel good with Tyson Bagent as your backup quarterback. I feel good. I feel good about where Jalen Johnson's at. We mentioned that already. Obviously, Deontay Foreman, that was a really nice game. And, when Herbert comes back, you're going to be feeling really good about that running back situation, no matter who's playing for you. The offensive line, like you said, that was as good as you can ask, considering where we were kind of in panic mode Thursday, Friday, not knowing if they were going to be down potentially 3 starters. And so that looked really good. I think you can just take some positives away from the fact that, they were able to make adjustments with a new quarterback coming in. I think the game plan was exactly what you would want. And it's going to be a little bit tougher if Tyson Bagent is playing against the Chargers this week. Obviously, we spent some time talking about how bad the Raiders looked in that game. But, I think we're probably going to see him at least another week, Kyle. I'd be a little bit surprised if Justin Fields is back this quickly.
Yeah, Matt Eberflus will be speaking this afternoon at Hallis Hall. Maybe not this afternoon. Is it 11 a.m.? I can't remember what time he usually goes on.
About 12:30. Yeah.
12:30. Okay. So, I don't expect we're going to get an update on Justin Fields today. Probably not until Wednesday, Sean. My guess.
Probably not.
All right. Well, Michael Rojak is out at Hallis Hall today. We got to get out of here, though, guys. We will be back on Friday morning to preview that Chargers game. Make sure to stick to shawlocal.com. We'll have full coverage throughout the week. Looking forward to find out Mark Silverman's thoughts after this win. For now, though, for Sean Hammond, I am Kyle Nabors. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us this morning.